Hi, everyone. Yeah, on behalf of Jack and Jacqueline and myself, welcome to the final Simply Smarter webinar in 2025, all about the flavors and trends you should know for 2026. It's been quite a year of webinars. I hope you've enjoyed all of our content so far. If you've previously tuned into any of our other webinars, then you should already know that we love an engaged and vocal audience. And we'll also love to see active discussions in the chat. I think people are already starting. Yeah, feel free to say hello. Tell us where you're listening in from. But yeah, throughout the webinar, please don't be shy. Feel free to drop your thoughts and ask any questions along the way, and we'll try our best to address them. And our other team members in the chat as well, or in the audience, will also try to do the same. And as a reminder, switch your chat settings from host and panelists to everyone so that the whole community can join in the conversation. And this is the first of many reminders that we'll have to make throughout the entire time that you will be able to access these slides after. So no need to fret, no need to jot too many things down. We will send you these slides after. And a recording of this webinar will also be available through our websites. And if you're not able to access any of that, send us an email. We can help you out. While folks are gradually settling in, I'd like to take a few short minutes here at the top of the webinar, as we often do, to share some of our latest research published on Report Pro, this time with the help of a few industry news bites. Things that have just been popping into my inbox. But earlier last week, Jacqueline here shared with our content team chat that Starbucks has officially joined the viral Dubai chocolate race. Starting in January, they are going to be releasing their winter menu with two Dubai chocolate inspired drinks, the Dubai chocolate matcha and Dubai chocolate mocha. Uh, I
And this
I
is
saw
really
this.
interesting because Dubai chocolate we've been seeing trending on social media already since December 2024, I believe. And so this is something that Starbucks is getting in on almost 2 years after the fact. Whereas normally I would see them being like the first to put this out, but they did do pistachio beverages earlier. So I think that was kind of like the hint of Dubai, and now they're going full out Dubai.
Yeah, Jack, I've never had a conversation with you about Dubai chocolate. Do you have any thoughts about this trend that's been surprisingly resilient?
I'm not
The
super. Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Jacqueline, please.
Oh, okay. It's not super surprising to me just based on like the social media data and how chocolate is just so well loved by consumers in general. It's a very highly appealing item. But then it's also tapping into that. I'm giving a little bit of a spoiler here, but that texture and food and beverage trend that we're seeing that's ongoing. And we're really seeing that katafi, that pistachio, really bringing the flavor to foods and beverages and really showing that texture is not just for food, it's also for beverages. And so I'm not surprised that this has continued to be an ongoing trend, as typically when we're thinking about trends, we want to think about how they're tying into long-term potential.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
maybe would it be helpful for some folks just remind them what this is?
Yeah, so Dubai chocolate is it started as a confectionery in Dubai itself, I believe, but it is and the inside of a chocolate bar is pistachio paste and kataifi, which is a fried like filo-like dough that's like shredded and really crispy. And the outside is coated with chocolate. So it's chocolate, pistachio, and pastry. It's really delicious, I'm not gonna lie. And I've had many, many versions of it. Um, have you had it yourself, Jack?
I've only had it in the form of like nuts at like the nut factory in New York. They do a Dubai chocolate nut. It's good. It's good.
Hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing a lot more of it in beverage form too. But the reason why I brought this up is that this year we, as a company, released our social listening capabilities, and just last month we are also now able to leverage those insights in a report form. So if you're a Report Pro subscriber, you might have seen this report be published a couple weeks ago. It's called the Social Listening Quarterly Review, and what this is it checks the pulse on current and heavy hitting social media trends like Dubai chocolate. Dubai chocolate is one of the very few trends that we assessed on that list that is considered a trend in both senses. So it's both a high number of engagement, so a lot of posts about it, and then a high number of mentions. So a lot of people are recreating content about Dubai chocolate. Not all trends are able to share both of these metrics. Some have a lot of different mentions, some have a lot of engagement but low mentions. And so, if you're interested in exploring the nitty-gritty of like all of these new social media trends and whether or not it actually has staying power, or whether or not people are talking about it for real, or if it's just a flash in the pan, I think leveraging social listening data in this way is also really, really interesting. And I just wanted to share that this is something that we're able to do now. And this is something I've wanted to be able to do for a long time because we keep talking about social media, but didn't really have a solid metric to figure out if it's great. So yeah, just wanted to share that. One last little piece of news that I saw a couple days ago, Paris Hilton, socialite, 2000s culture icon for those not in the know, recently announced a collaboration with International Delight and releasing a limited edition coffee creamer and cold foam line. And this is, I feel like I've seen so many different cold foam products pop up in supermarkets, and they're all so sweet, and they have so many different flavors. Paris Hilton's version includes a raspberry champagne and sweet and spicy creamers. So now they're leveraging the appeal of spicy, but I think spice in this context actually means like holiday spices and not actually like chilies. So it's super pink, super like really sweet and indulgent. And the reason why this announcement stuck out to me is because I had spent all of Monday afternoon reading our latest non-alcoholic beverage keynote, which is that giant study exploring how consumers and operators think about and buy everything from uh, carbonated beverages, tea and coffee and juices. And in that report, we asked consumers who have said that they have increased the number of non-alcoholic beverages they've had in the last year, why they decided to increase their non-alcoholic beverage consumption. And the top reason why they did so was because they wanted to treat themselves. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up, Jack, is about 6 months ago during the Data Essential 500 webinar, we had that little conversation about little treat culture where we were really trying to see if it's making any waves, if it's sustainable. And especially in the beverage world, it really feels like it is that like beverages are a supreme little treat now that you can kind of have at home or away from home to keep you going. What do you two think about this?
Uh, for sure. I mean, I think I'm glad we differentiate between non-alcoholic and alcoholic.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I think alcohol consumption is a totally different story, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, I think we're going to see much more textured type of beverages too. Some, odd. So it's blows my mind how expensive like a beverage is these days. Like
Mhm.
people routinely spend like $18 on a smoothie or something, which is sort of crazy, but it feels sustainable at this point because it's basically par for the course. When you find that sort of
Yeah.
when you find that sort of nuts, like, yeah, I'd like a smoothie. $22, please. I mean, it's like,
It probably depends on where you live because that would be super high for where I live. But if you're somewhere like California, where my brother lives, he lives in San Jose, that's kind of part of the course, honestly.
yeah, someone just
Yeah, I've
mentioned
seen a couple folks in the
Erewhon,
chat.
and they
Yep.
had like the $28 like Haley Bieber smoothie or something, which is crazy when it first hit. But now it's like, oh yeah, a lot of places are getting close to that $20 mark. It's like
But
sort
I
of
think
nuts.
with Erewhon popping up, we're also seeing this is a sidebar, but a weird resurgence of like premium grocery stores and premium retailers. Like, have you seen Meadow Lane pop up in New York since you've been there for a couple months?
No, no, not familiar.
It's another like viral like social media famous like super Erewhon style, really fancy like grocery store. Everything's super expensive. So it's really interesting that like this is a new form of luxury that's like coming back to market. High-end
Yeah, and those
convenience, like
younger
Emily was saying.
generations too, I think those are also key to driving the little indulgences trend, especially in the beverage space where you see the dirty soda popping up, where you're seeing all of these textural integrations and boba. I really see that a lot with Gen Z.
It's funny because like all of us, you see like a $20 smoothie place, and right next door in Manhattan, you'll see like $1.50 pizza. Like
It's the Manhattan effect. It's New
those,
York. It's a convergence of all walks of life, all different classes, all in one place.
it's like I can get
But
12 slices of pizza for one smoothie. It's amazing.
yep. But that's New York for you, you know? All right. Thank you for that wonderful little discussion. And I will not be getting an $18 smoothie after this, but I hope someone will. Okay, so let's move on to the real meat of the issue. But a couple of house announcements first. So the webinar you're watching right now marks the end of the 2025 Simply Smarter series. But don't fret, we'll be back every month as per usual in 2026. But if you want to continue tuning into these webinars, you have to sign up again using a new link. This happens every single year. I will remind you now, and then I will remind you again at the end. There is a new link to sign up for the 2026 Simply Smarter webinar series, and it is just datacentral.com/2026. So while you're listening to us uncover the latest and greatest flavor trends, take a couple moments to make sure that you're signed up for the next year's series of
Hey,
webinars.
how long does it take to actually sign up? Like
Uh,
seconds?
Truly, like, yeah, less than a minute.
So why don't we
Super
just skip this
fast.
video? Everyone, just go there right now and do it.
Yep.
Literally, just do it right now. You'll save yourself a little bunch of headache later. Forget
Yep.
whatever.
Kendra
Uh,
dropped in the
take
chat.
take 10 seconds right now. Just click that link, fill out the thing, and I think we should dilly
Yeah.
dally for a second so people have time to fill that
Well,
thing out.
I mean, while people are signing up, I will also let folks know that in January there are a couple of trade shows and events that our company will be present at. So if you're going to be at the Winter Fancy Fair in San Diego or the Global Seafood Market Conference in Hollywood Beach, Florida, we'd love to connect with you if you'll be in attendance, or you can also reach out to hello@datacentral.com to schedule an official meeting or learn more about our solutions. A couple of people have already completed. Um, but yeah, I think we can get started. We can keep filling out the form, but I think we have a lot of content to cover today, and I don't want us to waste any time. So this is the 2026 Trends webinar. It is powered by our annual Trends report. It is a marquee product that we create every single year, compiling the greatest food trends and beverage trends and macro forces that you need to that you need to know going forward to make sure that you're staying informed, that you're meeting consumers where they're at. And just a first disclaimer about or the methodology behind our report. Throughout the many different data and insights that you'll find in the full report, as well as some of the things that you see throughout this presentation, the consumer data populating this report comes from two online surveys fielded in September and October 2025, with more than 1,000 consumers representative of the U.S. general population. And where possible, we also supplement these consumer insights with operator insights from 359 operators from our panel. And then additional data points were sourced from Data Essential One and all of our proprietary platforms that you've heard about before: menu trends, menu casts, consumer preferences, all of the good stuff. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Jacqueline.
Thanks, Twee. I'm so excited to be here with everyone today. I love talking all things annual trends. It's the report that I look forward to the most every year. It's so exciting. These are things that we've been tracking throughout not just this year, but previous years as well, and seen them bubbling up. And now they're finally in a place where we're ready to highlight them for you here. As we head into a new year, new food, beverage, and flavor trends are top of mind, not just for all of you here on this webinar, but also for consumers. 64% of consumers are looking forward to new food and beverage trends in 2026. And those numbers rise for younger generations. 77% of Gen Z and 72% of millennials are looking forward to new food and beverage trends in 2026, specifically showing the importance of understanding the trend landscape. So moving to this next slide, I want to quickly break down for you here what exactly we mean when we're using the term trend, because that could mean a number of different things to you guys. So what's a trend? What's a fad? When we're talking about trends, we're talking about foods, flavors, and beverages that we're seeing growing on menus, specifically looking at 4-year growth and menu trends, and also have potential to continue growing based on our menu cast data. These will also tie into broader trends. So for instance, fiber ties into the larger gut health trend, as well as the rise of GLP-1s. When we're talking about a fad, on the other hand, we're generally talking about something that's more of a flash in the pan without potential for staying power, perhaps due to limited use cases or challenges around broader application or accessibility. And every food and flavor and beverage trend that we're talking about today, they're all backed up with our data and insights. We're not going to a fashion show, seeing puffy dresses and declaring that marshmallows are going to be the next big thing. We're not just making these up on the fly. These are things that we have tracked that have historic data behind them. So as we dive into our list of 10 new classics for 2026, you'll notice that they may not be new per se, but rather they're items that are now cemented as must-haves for many consumers, and they can be leveraged across restaurant segments and at retail. Some new classics also earned their spot on this list because they're old dogs that have learned new tricks. While this list is by no means exhaustive today, it should be considered as you build out your menu and retail strategies for 2026, as these items are ready to be capitalized on right now. But before we dive into all the new classics for 2026, we're going to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer. We want to wake you up, get the blood flowing, not have the food coma from lunch set in. So we're going to wake you up with a bit of a poll. And I'm going to get that running here. And what I would love to know is what new classic food, flavor, or beverage you think consumers are most interested in trying. Do you think it's hot honey, Basque cheesecake, birria, ube, or lemon pepper? And I know, Jack, that like you don't actually know the answer to this, so I'd love to hear your take.
So was the question asked just like this?
The question, so it wasn't like a survey question. What I'm trying to get at is just having people guess based on the survey results that we had tested among consumers. Which of these items do you think they're most interested in trying?
I would probably guess either hot honey or lemon pepper. I know they're totally different, but some people may have said lemon pepper just because they're familiar with it already. Hot honey, probably if they want to try something they haven't tried before, but they've heard of. The other three, I think, probably not quite as likely.
All right. Are we ready to end the poll?
Yeah, we've got about two-thirds in. Let's do it. Let's end.
All right, let's end. We're sharing these results here. And I am going to start by saying this is actually a bit of a trick question because we have a tie between the top two that are most interested in. And what's interesting to me is that based on Jack's take, he didn't necessarily think that there was a lot of potential, but Basque cheesecake is number one, tied with lemon pepper. So 50% correct. Yeah, lemon pepper is tied with Basque cheesecake for top interest. So moving to this next slide, you're going to see this photo and you may be thinking that someone forgot their cheesecake in the oven, and that's maybe not wrong, but that's the beauty of Basque cheesecake. It's a new classic that 63% of consumers are interested in trying. And that burned top of Basque cheesecake, it gives way to a creamy, custardy, mousse-esque texture inside. As it's baked at a really high temp and the top is intentionally burned, Basque cheesecake makes for a less labor-intensive dessert compared to traditional cheesecake. Over the past 4 years, it's grown 357% on dessert menus and is predicted to grow another 98% over the next 4 years. So it's got a lot of potential going for it. Going to this next slide, we're going to see some examples of how operators are capitalizing on this concept. You see chains like the Cheesecake Factory have already offered up approachable iterations of Basque cheesecake, while operators like Bobe Coffee and Tea have put a twist on the concept by showcasing an ube flavor, that bright, eye-catching purple color you see there in the middle, merging two new classic items together in one dish. So moving to this next slide, for those of you who are unfamiliar with lemon pepper, although you're not wrong, I saw someone in the chat saying that it's been around for a while, and it has. Lemon pepper seasoning is made of dried lemon zest, black pepper, and salt. And this spice blend is seeing a resurgence, growing 79% on menus in the past 4 years, and is predicted to grow another 26% over the next 4 years. It's also indexing higher on winter menus, which we highlighted on our Winter Trends webinar if you tuned into that. While lemon pepper has cemented itself as a new classic in categories like wings, it can star really in any dish or item that could use a punch of pepper or bright acid, ranging from chicken to seafood to even potato chips, as we'll see on this next slide here. And so we have two different examples. You can see how the operator on the left is showcasing lemon pepper for chicken wings paired with trend forward yuzu and chives. While on the right, you have a sweet chili potato chip flavor by Wrap Snacks at retail.
We featured wrap snacks at a previous
We
event.
did!
They changed their
Hmm.
packaging. I like the old packaging more.
Oh. Sometimes people feel that way with a rebrand. They just get really attached to like the original look, and then a rebrand is like very disconcerting.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
disconcerted.
If I could pause for a moment here to sort of address some of
Yeah.
the discussion I'm seeing in the chat, we have a really interesting conversation going about a lot of people not being surprised by lemon pepper being here, and then others being very surprised by lemon pepper being here. And I think this is a good spot to remind folks that the ingredients that Jacqueline is covering right now, or the trends that Jacqueline is covering right now, are new classics. They're not things that are further out. They're not things that are super new and just popping up on market. These are things that are making waves again in the market and really cementing themselves on menu in a very new fashion. Um, Trends are cyclical and you see things come in and out. We're also in an era, like Jessica said, where old things are made new again and are reinvented in very unique ways. And I think the reason why lemon pepper is making so much market splash right now is that younger consumers in particular are training and developing a palate that is very friendly to acidity. Think about the latest trends that are really captivating Gen Z right now. Pickles, chamoy, super acidic and flavorful ingredients. And so because of that, I think having something acidic and salty and really bold like lemon pepper making their way back is no surprise at all. But it's
And
really great to see people comment.
sometimes something that feels like old news to one generation is actually brand new to another generation. And so that's where we're seeing nostalgia coming in, where it's like something might feel old to one generation, whereas for Gen Z, it's something that's brand new to them and they're experiencing it for the first time. And so we see that as a theme a lot when we see foods and flavors resurging. So thanks for that, Hui. And Hui is going to touch on, once we're through the new classics, more of the future forward looking foods and flavors that likely many of you haven't heard of or as familiar with. So butter chicken, this is one of the ones that I'm really excited about becoming a new classic. It's an Indian dish featuring chicken in a mild curry with a tomato and butter or heavy cream base, but it's spreading its wings and really growing in the item as a flavor trend realm. And if you're not familiar with the wider item as flavor trend, I highly recommend checking out my colleague Claire Conahan's inspiration report on it and Report Pro, where she did a great job of really fleshing out this trend. And then we also touched on it in our winter trends webinar previously, because this is something that we're seeing pop up repeatedly. So with taking butter chicken, it's lending inspiration to everything from butter chicken tacos to butter chicken pizzas or burgers. So putting a twist on these really familiar, well-loved fan favorite items. And younger generations especially gravitate to butter chicken. Gen Z and millennials are statistically more likely to be interested in this dish than Gen X and boomers. So moving to the next slide, we are seeing two ways that our operators are leveraging butter chicken as a flavor. On the left is Brewdog's Bombay Butter Chicken Burger. Look at that great juicy squish that we see going on, featuring crispy chicken thighs tossed in butter chicken curry sauce. Well, on the right is a butter chicken taco that swaps that typical tortilla for pita bread, topped with heirloom tomato butter chicken sauce offered at pop-up chicken shop. And that term heirloom, it's going to come up actually repeatedly as a theme in most of our examples today. And it's a topic that I actually touched on in a recently published Trend Watch report on produce trends in Report Pro. So if you haven't read that report already, also make sure to check that one out to dive deeper into heirloom produce and trending varieties like Thumbelina carrots.
These both look amazing. That sandwich on the left looks like probably the messiest handheld food I've ever seen. Is that acceptable in society today to eat something like that in front of
It
people?
probably depends on who you are. Maybe you're not going out on a first date to get that item, but I don't know. I would love it. And I wouldn't care about the judgment from my date, to be honest.
I mean, that's going to get everywhere. Like, that's crazy.
But I
Just
think
play it out in
people
your head.
really,
That is like a roller coaster. Okay, anyways.
I'm
I think
seeing a lot of support for the messiness.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we've grown a lot more accustomed societally to eating with our hands and like making a mess
Yes.
and not caring and focusing on flavors and deliciousness over,
Well,
self-presentation, I guess. But some people are with you, Jack, that,
I
maybe it's
I
nice to be
think
nice and clean.
I think one thing we have to do is offer training on how to properly use a napkin. Like I'm terrible at
Yeah.
this myself. I'll just grab like a handful and I'm getting like maybe 1% utilization out of the napkin and just wasting a bunch of paper. And my hands are still covered in all this stuff. Like if you order that, it should come with the training on like, here's how to take a napkin. This is the proper way of using it. One napkin can last you the entire meal. Well, maybe not for this. But there was a great TED talk like a long time ago where they show like when you go to use the restroom and you wash your hands, like one little paper towel can dry your entire hand if you do it the right way. And we're wasting like 99% of the paper towels. I feel like it applies here.
We gotta
Yeah,
watch that now.
it might. Now everybody's gonna have to watch the TED Talk on how to use paper towels.
Hmm.
Well,
Mind
Smash
blowing.
Well, smashed or mashed potatoes or smash burgers are maybe top of mind when you think of smashed items or hear the term smashed. What we're talking about here are next level iterations. So we're seeing smashed vegetables popping up repeatedly, especially the viral smashed cucumber salads, Japanese sunomono. And so you're seeing a lot of cucumber and smashed items kind of colliding into one trend. And what's going on here is that the cucumbers are smashed with the back of a knife and it helps to create different textures and sizes of cucumber that then can soak up dressings easier. Over on this next slide, we're going to see a couple examples of this. So on the left is smashed zucchini salad with pine nut harissa served at Novel Restaurant. While over on the right, we see smashed cucumbers with sesame vinaigrette, sambal aioli, and chili crunch offered at Taylor and the Cook. Now, going to this next slide, we're going to see that hot honey, we have it featured here, but it is everywhere these days. I've been seeing you guys talking about it in the chat a little bit, but it's still seeing really high menu penetration and consumer interest. It's one of the top growing sauces and flavors on menus over the past 4 years. And Data Central's AI-powered MenuCast platform predicts it will grow another 148% on menus over the next 4 years. Further propelling hot honey into the spotlight, as people are mentioning in the chat, is the interest in the term spicy, which essentially means sweet and spicy, which isn't a brand new flavor profile. It's something that's well loved and has been around for forever. But the spicy term is just adding interest to this term, bringing new interest. It's a Gen Z term. And to tap into that spicy trend, look for opportunities to cross-utilize hot honey in everything from crackers to potato chips that retail to in a restaurant application. Maybe you're thinking appetizers, entrees, or cocktails. Here we see how Madame George showcased hot honey in their turtle dove cocktail. Well, on the right, Ritz featured hot honey as a flavor for their crackers. Now, again, moving to this next slide, you might be thinking, what? Tomatoes? A trend? Really? Doesn't everybody have these in their fridges and their pantries? And yes, well, tomatoes are ubiquitous. What we're talking about here are tomatoes in new, unexpected, next level applications. And it's this space where they're becoming new classics. They're now appearing dehydrated and pulverized as tomato dust, garnishing cocktails and sweetmeat savory desserts and smoothies like Heinz and Smoothie King's Heinz tomato ketchup smoothie and more, showcasing really the versatility and broader applications for this ingredient.
It's a fruit.
It
It is a
is.
fruit.
It is a fruit. Technically, it's a fruit. I will always think of it as a vegetable personally, but yes, technically, it's a fruit. In our Creative Concepts Next Gen Bars and Beverages report, I highlighted this cocktail called the Wayfaring Stranger from Wild Child that you see over here on the left. And it features a topping of garam masala foam and tomato dust for an eye-catching presentation that ties into that larger foam trend that's ongoing in the beverage space. Well, on the right, we see, again, heirloom tomato panzanella with pickled and dehydrated tomato from Dish. By now, you're all probably also familiar with this next trend that we're calling a new classic, birria. It's a Mexican stew featuring slow-cooked meat served with a rich broth called consame. In recent years, birria has taken social media and menus by storm. It's up 350% on menus over the past 4 years. And MenuCast further predicts that birria will grow another 118% over the next 4 years. Now, as a new classic, birria has taken on a variety of mashup formats ranging from pizza to burgers, and not just beef, but also chicken is getting birria-ized. So keep an eye out for birria chicken. Pictured on this next slide that you're going to see is Oasis del Norte's Birria Pizzadilla with shredded birria, cheese, and consomme. And I really love this example because it's showing how, if you're in the pizza space, how important it is to not just stay focused on pizza. You really need to be thinking outside of the box and looking to broader trends in other areas, like Mexican cuisine, which is the favorite global cuisine of Gen Z. And so this restaurant sees birria trending on social media and takes it and adapts it and makes it fit within their product line, pizza, and a super approachable vehicle for introducing this item to consumers. Over on the right, we see corn pupusas with birria and mozzarella from Del Real, and keeping it in that more globally inspired format. Now, this is a trend that I know Hui personally is like really excited about. We touched on it earlier in the webinar, but he also touched on it in 2025 Mid-Year Trends Report as a trend that he's been tracking. So thanks to Hui for bringing this to everyone's attention, whether it's crispy katafi in social media star Dubai chocolate or the continued growth of all things boba, texture in food and beverage has become a new classic. As boba expands beyond the traditional tapioca pearls to include other traditional Taiwanese toppings and mix-ins, boba texture can now include grass jelly, which we're actually going to touch on in our future foods and flavors section, pieces of pudding, chewy taro balls, red beans, and more. Foams that add to the textural experience are also starring on beverages ranging from coffee to tea to cocktails to mocktails. And we're seeing like Starbucks Protein Form, for instance, adding texture to their lineup of non-alcoholic beverages while tying into that larger protein trend that we're seeing in the health space as well. And that fiber is coming alongside of. Over on this next slide, we're going to see pictured on the left 5-color dessert boba with smashed mung beans and taro, coconut cream, red tapioca, and pandan jelly offered at Tea Snow. Well, over on the right, you've probably all heard of and recognized this item, the Dubai chocolate pistachio shake from Shake Shack, featuring toasted katafi, chopped pistachios, and a coating of crackable dark chocolate, tying into the crackle lattes that trended on social media this year and we highlighted in our social media sensations report, as well as the Dubai chocolate craze. So again, merging two trends together into one LTO.
Hey, I think there's some sensory and psychological research done some time back that showed that texture impacts taste preferences as much or more than flavor does. So it's
Yes.
often forgotten.
Yeah, and it's overlooked, but it's so important. And so when you're thinking of flavor, it's also just as important to be thinking about the textural experience as well.
I do think
I
there's
see
also
someone in the
something.
comment. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, I see in the comments that someone's like, "Oh, Jacqueline's teaching me how to pronounce these things," and it's like I had to learn how to pronounce them myself ahead of this, and we do our best to pronounce things correctly. But if I ever mispronounce something, I apologize.
Oh wow. Okay. The thing that I was gonna say, Michelle actually brought up in the chat, is that I feel like there was a generation or there was a time years ago that texture was a huge ick for a lot of consumers. That like seeing a texture that is unusual is like something that would deter a lot of consumers. But I do think that like with younger generations growing up with a sensory overload lifestyle in many sense, I feel like because of that, a lot of them are being desensitized to a lot of the stranger textures that we might not have been familiar with like 10, 20 years ago. Would you say that's the case, Jack?
I think it's pretty context dependent. I mean, there's some textures that are completely disgusting in one context, but okay in another. Like in a beverage, you
Mhm.
might think it's that texture is okay, but when you're eating it in, I don't know, like a meat dish or something, it might freak you out. But I
Yeah.
think, you know, a lot of this goes back to that thing we've talked about before, which is that mere exposure effect, which is it's been shown over and over again across many domains, not just food. The more you are exposed to something, the more you tend to like it over
Hmm.
time. So you just have to get over that, initiation hump a little bit. But I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that freaks me out. I don't want to eat that. That is just completely disgusting. So I don't know. Some of it is cultural and how we're brought up too, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And like Chris says in the chat, yeah, a lot of this stuff takes time. So he's bringing up that mochi was pretty difficult to a lot of American consumers like some 15, 20 years ago, and now we're seeing that everywhere too. So
Yeah, we
that's
actually
totally
highlighted
true.
it as a new classic 1 or 2 years ago in an annual trends report.
Yeah, I think like when sushi first came here, I think obviously you have like, I want to put like this raw fish thing in my mouth. But from a sensory perspective, it wasn't the flavor that would throw people off and cause them to go, bleh, right away. It
Hmm.
was that sort of like what they perceived as a really slimy texture that they weren't used to before.
Right.
So yeah, I think we ignore the texture stuff quite a lot. I mean, as an industry, but it's really quite important.
Hmm.
So moving to this one trend, this one doesn't necessarily require a lot of introduction. Again, we've touched on it repeatedly throughout this year and in previous years. We've been talking about it at Data Essential for a very, very long time now. I've been with Data Essential for almost 10 years. And ever since I started, ube has been on our radar. And so if you're a Menu Trend subscriber, you could have seen this steady increase going on for ube. As we've touched on in multiple webinars, it's evolved into a new classic. But for those who are newly joining us and aren't as familiar with ube, I'll just quickly say it's a purple Filipino yam with a neutral flavor profile and an adoption on the menu adoption cycle. Not only is it indexing higher on fall menus, it also ties into the need for natural food and beverage colorants with the rise of artificial food dye bans. It's taken over social media feeds and it's up 222% on menus over the past 4 years and is predicted to grow another 86% on menus over the next 4 years. So looking at these menu examples, these just bring me pure joy because purple is my favorite color. Ube is tying into social media trends like cloud coffee, which we touched on in a social media sensations report. YSG Dessert Bar offered an iced ube cloud beverage with ube milk and ube whipped cream, really bringing it all together to make this super eye-catching beverage. While over on the right, we see that Sunday New Asian leveraged ube for their ube waffles to lend them this bright purple color and also topped the waffles with whipped ube butter. So again, showing the cross-utilization potential for ube and how it's not a one-trick pony and it's impacting the beverage space, it's impacting the baked goods space. If you're offering butter, if you're offering whipped cream, ube has touched on all these different areas.
Do you think it's more of like a visual thing or more of a flavor thing? That's
I
kind of
think it's more visual when it comes to ube, but do you have any thoughts on that, Hui?
Yeah, I think it's visual first, but also the flavor. I've grown up with ube all my life, and the flavor is some mild sweetness that I
Yeah.
think really captivates in a very different way than other like sweetened desserts. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
I loved the
but
ube cupcake that we had at the Elevate experience this year. That was so delicious from Genevieve's Bakery. And so it is a very neutral flavor profile.
mhm. I think this is the last new classic,
This
right?
is. So this is the last new classic we're going to touch on with you all today, monosodium glutamate or MSG, which was once a controversial ingredient. For some, it is still a little controversial, but it's seeing a resurgence. It notably skews an appeal towards Gen Z and millennials, and we've been seeing it steadily make a comeback for years. MSG actually naturally occurs in many foods and adds a rich umami flavor to any dish that could use a little boost. And it made headlines when it starred in the MSG martini at Bonnie's in Brooklyn, New York. We're going to look at just a few examples here. Pictured on the left is Machete's Creo Sleep Interrupted cocktail featuring gin or vodka with blue cheese, infused dry vermouth, MSG, and Castelvetrano olives, the latter of which we highlighted as a new classic food and flavor already back in 2024, showing how food and flavor trends can merge and remain relevant for years to come. So what we're talking with you about here, they're not going to be stale in 2026, they're not going to be stale in 2027, because we're talking about things that have longevity potential. On the right, we see how MSG can also star in sweet applications like ice cream, with Bebezito offering vanilla MSG ice cream. The brand describes MSG as standing for makes stuff good. And I love that description because that really is the description of umami. It's a really fun way to think of this umami forward ingredient. So last but not least, we're going to look at how operators who aren't yet offering these foods and flavors that we've highlighted as new classics are interested in offering them, revealing where there's some untapped opportunity. Basque cheesecake comes out on top, followed by butter chicken, and then a tie with hot honey, unique texture in foods and beverages, and birria. So I'm going to pass things off to Hui now, who's going to walk us through the 10 foods, flavors, and beverages to know for the future, which are more forward thinking, as I mentioned, and likely less familiar to you all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacqueline, for running through all of those wonderful new classics. The ingredients that I'm going to be covering for the next 15, 20 minutes or so are going to be decidedly more Inception level, more out there, a lot rarer. These are ingredients that have to walk the line between being innovative and trend forward, but also approachable and rooted in reality, right? Things that are rare and perhaps culturally specific, but not so rare that they're not even worth talking about. And for all of them, we are featuring them because they're tapping into a lot of consumer trends and a lot of need states that already exist. So I'm excited to share them all with you. But first, like with the new classics, let's have another poll to see which of these ingredients consumers are most interested in trying. So same type of questioning that we ask consumers with the new classics. There are six of these here, but we're going to cover 10 in the next part of the webinar. But Jack, since you also haven't seen this, what do you think among all of these
Well,
ingredients?
when we asked people, did we define what these are, or we just show them the name?
We gave them a definition.
Oh, we gave them a definition. Oh, so that if we gave them a definition, I think char siu has a chance, but stracciatella is probably a good guess as well. If you didn't give them the definition, I think the cheese wins because everything else is not as easily identified to people.
Hmm.
But with the definition, the the pork has a chance, I think.
All right, then
Have you?
should we end?
Yeah, I think yeah, we can end now. Okay, so let's share results. Jack, before we talk about these results, have you heard about all of these six items? Do you know what all of these are?
I do
Just out
not
of
know what
curiosity.
the bottom one is.
Got it. Okay, cool. But yeah, Stracciatella won out among our audience, and I believe this time our audience is actually correct, right?
Yes. So, yes, everyone's correct. Cheese wins, but there's actually a tie again.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, being a little tricky here. And the tie is with Camo Camo. And so that was a very fascinating finding to us, but I think it goes to show how people are thinking in a health forward sense. And Camo Camo has some similarities to like the superberry acai and when we saw acai trending. And so I think that's what we're seeing going on here, but I'll let you dive more into it, Wei.
Yeah, thank you. That was really fun. Okay, so let's start first with stracciatella. Stracciatella is a fresh Italian cheese that is made by mixing delicate strands of pulled mozzarella curds with rich cream. And if you've had burrata before, which I'm sure many of you had, it's the luxurious, soft interior that fills burrata guts, like Frank's talking about in the chat. But now we're seeing them being menued on their own. And the texture is silky and spreadable, and it's slightly elastic, and there's a clean dairy sweetness. According to our menu trends platform, stracciatella has grown by 100% on menus over the past 4 years, and it's predicted to grow another 45% on menus over the next 4 years. It's become increasingly popular for elevating pizzas and salads and small plates, brunch items, and its versatility and premium perception makes it a very compelling addition for operators looking to add just a little touch of richness and luxury onto their menus. Um, for my pronunciation of this item, I do confess that I was at an industry event last night where I met someone from Italy who taught me how to say that. So this is why we're saying it like that. Okay, a couple menu examples to showcase here. On the left, you can see a grilled flatbread with stracciatella and Calabrian chili from Marquette in New York. And then on the right, you can also see that stracciatella can be used in many sweet applications like a cannoli from Sammy's Italian restaurant in Austin, Texas. Next, we have Camu Camu. 58% of consumers are interested in trying this tart cherry-sized berry native to the Amazon rainforest. It's known for its exceptionally high vitamin C content, one of the highest of any natural food source, and some say it actually contains as much as 40 times the level of vitamin C of a small orange. It is a functional and health-forward superfood that has the potential to sort of leverage some of the same consumer fervor that acai did, like Jacqueline mentioned earlier. It's typically consumed in powdered or puree formed, and it delivers a bright citrusy tang, and it's often used like acai in a lot of health-driven contexts, smoothies, wellness beverages, functional snacks, things of that nature. And so the examples that we have to share here very much mirror what we have seen with acai. You have a superfood smoothie add-on at Clean Juice. And then on the right is a retail brand called Navitas. I actually bought this for my mother recently, and she gave it some really rave reviews. And we can see here that it's being used as a chia pudding. So yeah, another new superfood functional ingredient to continue adding on to this growing and sustained consumer need state. Next is an ingredient that is very near and dear to my heart. I grew up with this dish, and I'm very, very happy that we can finally talk about it in this setting. Cha shao or Cantonese barbecued pork is less of an ingredient and more of a technique in which pork, which can be pork loin, pork shoulder, pork belly, it varies depending on how fatty you want your final product to be. Pork meat is marinated in a mixture of soy sauce, honey o maltose, five spice, and fermented red bean curd, which is another secret ingredient that one day I hope to get to talk about, and then roasted to achieve a red and caramelized exterior. We've mentioned spicy several times throughout this webinar, but another term that sometimes enters our media team's inbox is a term that I hate. It's called savory, which is a portmanteau between sweet and savory. But I do think that the sweet and savory flavor combination here is really the defining hallmark of what makes this dish so special and why it's resonating with so many younger consumers today. It's become one of the most recognizable styles of Chinese barbecue, and Chinese barbecue is breaking outside of its traditional Americanized Chinese. It's really growing into the mainstream. It's really taking a lot center stage, and many traditional preparations and ingredients of Chinese cuisine are being explored across different types of restaurants and menu. So as regional Asian flavors and preparations continue to make waves, Chasho offers operators of versatile and delicious protein options that you can use in bowls and sandwiches and buns and skewers, anything that you might use any other type of cooked pork product. Jack, what is your experience with Chasho?
There's this place in Chinatown, Manhattan. I forget what it's called. They call it like Wafeng or something. There's always a line out the door, and for literally $5, you get a giant thing of rice and
Hmm.
the char siu and some vegetables to go with it. It's delicious, unbelievably cheap. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going back to the earlier thing. I get like three and a half of these, or I get one smoothie. It makes no sense to me still. But that char siu spikes my blood sugar like nothing I've ever seen in
Yep.
my life. It is
Yeah.
crazy. Like that line goes straight up immediately, even if I don't touch the rice, which will spike you as well. But that char siu is like it's pure sugar at some point. It's
Hmm.
rather amazing, but delicious.
It's
Delicious.
so delicious. Yeah, and we're seeing operators utilizing it outside of that traditional context that we're seeing most popular. You're seeing here char siu lamb ribs on the left with a sticky char siu glaze, sesame and shallots from Noah restaurant in Australia, and on the right, a char siu tooth fish with barbecue onions and braised silver beet. So you can totally use the formula, the recipe, the marinade to flavor other types of proteins as well. Next is the ingredient that I believe you have not seen before, Jack. Is that right?
Mm-mm.
This is piloncillo. It is an unrefined cane sugar widely used throughout Mexico and Central America. It's made by boiling sugarcane juice until it crystallizes into solid cones that you see here. It retains the plant's natural molasses and minerals and caramelized complexity. And it can be used in any place that brown sugar can be used, but most traditionally in beverages like café de olla, which we've highlighted in several webinars in the past, as well as atole. So as consumers are increasingly seeking out more natural sweeteners, this is one of those ingredients that we predict could be making a lot of waves throughout menus and retail products.
So you
Um,
could use this as a sugar in different applications or just specific
yeah,
things.
hmm Yeah. If you think of palm sugar in Thai cuisine, it's kind of like a similar structure. You break off different chunks and it melts very easily in water. So very delicious, super nutty, super caramelized by nature. Um, Beyond those traditional beverages, though, we can see that operators are now leveraging it in other sweet contexts as well. On the left is a margarita with pumpkin caramelized in piloncillo, the sugar that we talked about, and then dusted with cinnamon. And then on the right, we're seeing a concha French toast. Concha is a Mexican sweet pastry with a crusty baked cookie top, and then it's served with fresh berries, and the syrup that tops these French toast is made with the syrup. So different dessert and sweet applications use this in any way that brown sugar is currently being used.
Amazing.
The next ingredient is huacate. It's sometimes called Peruvian black mint, and it's a Peruvian herb that belongs actually botanically to the marigold family and not the mint family. But its flavor is unique. It's a mix of mint and basil and tarragon and citrus. It's got an herbal intensity that is ideal for sauces and marinades. And it's perhaps best known for its savory applications, especially as a key ingredient in Peruvian ají de huacate. It is often served with grilled meats and potatoes for vegetables. So, like you see on the left here, Lucky Restaurant in Roanoke, Virginia, makes an ají verde sauce with this Peruvian black mint and serves it on top of their fried chicken wings. And then on the right, you can also see that the herbal intensity of this herb is being leveraged in other applications beyond savory too. So here, Bar Contra in New York, which you should totally check out if you're still there. It's one of the most popular innovative cocktail bars in the city. They make a Wakate-inspired cocktail with nitro muddled Wakate, rum, and quince. So any context that you could use a really nice herb, something like chervil, tarragon, mint, you can also use this ingredient.
It's also a great Grinchy color, and my son would absolutely love that because he's really into the Grinch these days. Not that he's drinking alcohol, but the color is fabulous for this season.
Right? Yeah. One day he'll be able to have this cocktail 21 years down the line. Um, Okay, so next we have Ataya tea, and I know this is an ingredient that Jacqueline is very, very passionate about. It is a traditional West African tea ritual, most commonly associated with Senegal, but also in other countries like Gambia and Mauritius. It's a Senegalese tea made by combining a strong green tea, like a gunpowder tea, with sugar and mint. And it is also a ritual where the tea is poured back and forth from a certain height between a teapot and a glass to create that thick foam that you can see in this picture. It's still a very early stage inception term, but its rising visibility correlates very well with consumer interest in global tea and coffee culture and slow rituals and at-home beverages, and also away from home beverages as well. So as tea continues to rise in relevance, both on its own, but also in cocktails, mocktails, and as an experiential setting, consider this global take that's sweet and also capitalize in current trends like foams that we already talked about. So on the left here, it's a restaurant and a menu example that Jacqueline has talked to me quite a lot about. So do you want to share this one, Jacqueline?
Oh, of course. So it's Senegalese style Ataya tea made with ginger and mint jasmine tea. It's served at De Carnola in New Orleans. And I have been following the chef of De Carnola. He was nominated for James Beard Award in 2022 and 2023. And he's doing such creative things and introducing US consumers the broader to a broader understanding of Senegalese cuisine in general. And Senegalese cuisine is a specific cuisine that we've been seeing rising and has been of interest to us for many years now. I want to say at least 5 years. And so this is something that I've had my eye on for a really long time. And when you have a chef who's getting renowned and recognized in this way, then the concepts that they're producing, like Ataya tea, are also likely to be riffed on and recreated by other operators as well as they take inspiration.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And then on the right here, we actually have a cocktail made with Ataya tea. This is actually from Senegal itself. It is from
Oh my
Lindiamana
goodness, Kwe, I
Cocktail
just have
Bar.
to interrupt real quick because we have Kara here from De Carnola, who
Oh my
is saying
goodness.
that she was so surprised to see us feature this here today. Hi to Kara.
This
Big
is not
fans.
scheduled. This is a total coincidence. Great to have you here. But yeah, going back to the cocktail, this is called the Ataya Clock with mint Ataya tea, African spices, and whiskey. So already being experimented on beyond its initial setting. This is awesome. Okay, I'm gonna keep going because we have quite a few more things to share, but great to see this conversation. The next ingredient I'm very passionate about because it is somtam. It is a Thai green papaya salad known for its vibrant balance of spicy and sour and salty and sweet flavors. It's traditionally made with shredded unripe papaya, which is pounded in a pestle and mortar with ingredients like lime juice, fish sauce, chilies, palm sugar, garlic, and peanuts. But sometimes I've also had it even amped up the umami even further by adding things like salted duck egg or fermented crab. You don't have to do all that to make a really delicious salad here. It's most commonly associated with Thai cuisine, but it's also known and also traditional in Lao cuisine. And the recipes vary between households, countries, regions, and operators. It is crisp and refreshing and intensely aromatic, and I do think those flavor profiles are very representative of the ethos of Southeast Asian cuisine in general. But beyond its initial setting and its most traditional preparation, we're now seeing the flavor profiles or the format being expanded upon and experimented with. On the left, you see the Manny Man cocktail inspired by this green papaya salad, featuring rum agricole fat washed with peanut butter, St. Lucian peanut cream, Sichuan pepper, lime, and green chili. So savory, sour, a little sweet, but very punchy and umami forward. And then on the right is a really great restaurant that I love in New York called Strange Delight. And they use the same flavor profiles, but instead of the green papaya, they're subbing it out for chayote or merlatan, which is a not commonly known vegetable, but it has the same level of like bright crunchiness that adds the really great texture in the salad. So definitely experiment with both the format of pounding a salad with really aromatic ingredients, as well as utilizing those aromats themselves. Next, we have ancient grain beer, which is a trend that combines health and sustainability and brings both into the alcoholic beverage world. A large number of beers nowadays are being made with ancient grains like African fonio, quinoa, sorghum, or millet, each contributing a really unique and nutty flavor profile, while also supporting biodiversity and agricultural resilience and terroir. We can see here, this is a fonio kolsch with fonio substituted for a portion of malted barley. So you can brew your entire beer using these ancient grains, or you can make some substitutions and sub some of the barley for an ancient grain. But this is from River's Edge Brewing Company in Milford, Michigan. Next is fermented black beans. This is one of the trends that we teased earlier this year in the Mid-Year Trends webinar. It is known as doucher in Chinese cuisine, and these are actually soybeans that are fermented with salt and a fermenting agent that is not too dissimilar from koji. They deliver a concentrated burst of umami with very savory and earthy notes, and you can use them whole like this for a nice chewy texture, or grind them into a paste to flavor a dish that is getting a lot more popularity on menus called jjajangmyeon, which is a black bean sauce noodle. And then you can also see them used in a lot of other Chinese stir fries and braises, like the Mongolian beef that you see in the right here. And then the final new food and flavor to watch that we'd like to share here is grass jelly, which we talked about a little earlier. It's a lightly bitter herbal jelly made from the leaves and stems of the Masona herb, which is botanically part of the mint family now. It's commonly enjoyed throughout many East and Southeast Asian countries. I grew up with this ingredient. It's got a smooth, bouncy texture with a mild minty flavor, and it can be enjoyed in many different ways, straight from a can, topped with some sugar and milk, but also served chilled in drinks and desserts and shaved ice bowls, really leaning into the texture trend that we talked about earlier. You can see the left here, a nice dessert with grass jelly, rice balls, and boba, and then on the right you can see them as a topping option for a Thai iced tea. So those are the foods and flavors to watch for the future. Again, none of these things are things that you have to add to your menus now, and you won't see them everywhere now, but these are things beyond the horizon that you should keep an eye on in order to stand out and be innovative. All right,
Yeah,
back to
because you
Jacqueline.
never know when they're going to become new classics. Like you always want to
Yep.
have a pulse, and that's what we're trying to do here is keep you on the pulse of what's up and coming. So we only have a few more minutes left, so I'm gonna breeze through this a little bit, but I want to introduce you all to Kerala cuisine, which is our cuisine to know for 2026. And if you're unfamiliar, you're not alone. Only 10% of US consumers actually know what it is, and only 13% have tried it. But there's high interest in the cuisine, with 39% of consumers overall interested in trying it, 56% of Gen Z, and 49% of millennials specifically. So again, those global flavors appealing to that younger consumer base. Moving to this next slide, I want to touch on a little bit some of the staple Kerala foods and flavors that nearly any operator could take inspiration from and capitalize on, as they're very approachable. So take, for instance, Kerala fried chicken, which is a spicy street food. It's seasoned with red and green chilies, lime or vinegar, and a marinade featuring spices like garlic, turmeric, chili powder, ginger, and curry leaves, and fried in coconut oil until it's crispy. And there's also a really vibrant coffee and tea culture in Kerala that could up the experience ante if it were to come stateside. So think chai poured from a meter high, which could lend really well to social media, or create that especially frothy top, as well as Kerala filtered coffee made with finely ground coffee, blended sometimes with chicory and served with hot milk and sugar. So going back a few slides, I want to touch just really quickly on Saja, which is a traditional communal vegetarian feast held in Kerala. 35% of consumers are interested in restaurants hosting Saja. It includes up to 28 different dishes, all served on a large banana leaf. And as we touched on earlier, while eating with our hands and getting messy is a little foreign to some US consumers, overseas it is not that out there of an idea. And so this is meant to be consumed with your hands and not utensils, which adds to the experience.
Hey,
It's
Jacqueline,
common, yeah.
can we just let everyone know where Kerala is?
Hmm.
Kerala is in Kerala, Kerala, India.
Yeah, it's a region in Indian cuisine.
It's a
Yeah,
region in
it's a
India.
regional Indian cuisine. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And so, also quintessential to Kerala culture are toddy shops, a type of bar in Kerala that's designed for communal gathering, similar to a Japanese izakaya, where alcohol is brewed from palm tree extract, which comes from toddy palm, which you see pictured here, and it's served in clay pot vessels with touchings. And touchings you can really think of as shareable small plates, similar to bar snacks or Spanish tapas, and they're also consumed with your hands and not utensils. So 36% of US consumers are interested in visiting a Kerala style toddy shop if one were to open stateside. We're going to look at a few different examples real quick here before we close out the webinar for today. Over on the left, we see how Chatty in New York is offering a filter coffee pudding, a dessert that features Kerala filter coffee. Well, over on the right, we see Toddy Shop beef fry, which is a really quintessential Toddy Shop item. It features slow-cooked cubes of beef brisket with Kerala spices. So again, very approachable items that I would definitely try. Over on this next slide, we're going to see that operators don't necessarily have to specialize in Kerala cuisine to offer it. Bar Bar in Los Angeles doesn't offer Kerala cuisine specifically, but it takes inspiration from it for certain items like their Kerala fried chicken you see pictured here with chili aioli, fresh baby radishes, and curry leaves. Moving to this next slide, we see that there is a US operator who is actually offering Saja. Thatu in Chicago offers 15 vegetarian dishes served on banana leaf for their special Saja meal. Well, on their regular menu, you can also find items like their beef fry and paradas, which is a Kerala street food, and their take features air-fried beef with 2 flaky paradas. This last example that I'm going to share with you all today is Kerala Coffee, which is also popping up stateside with operators like Chayakata and San Jose, specializing in Kerala-style chai and following the tradition where it's poured from a meter high until it's filled to the brim and foamy. And chai is growing stateside. It's up 6% on beverage menus over the past 4 years. And so this Kerala take on it really ties into that rise on menus as well as social media. And so I think that's it from us today. Thank you so much for joining us. But we're going to, real quickly, if you want to stick around with us, summarize the top 5 takeaways from today's webinar, because we know that's a lot of content and that we breezed through. So number 1 being that food and beverage trends, they matter. 64% of consumers are looking forward to them in 2026. And this is especially the case among younger generations. And number 2, once emerging trends, the new classics, hot honey, birria, ube, and more, these have become must-haves for consumers. And all these foods and flavors, they start out in the future space, as we touched on, but then as they make their way through the menu adoption cycle, they will become new classics more likely than not. Hui,
Yeah,
number
and then
3.
to impress all some of the many new classics that we shared, like adding texture to beverages or using tomato in unexpected ways, is really an interesting strategy in the next year to revitalize things that are familiar, which can be a really great way to show up your chops and impress consumers. And then all of the future flavors that I shared, your black fermented black beans, grass jelly, camu camu, all of these ingredients are maybe inception level or culturally specific, but keep an eye on them because they tap into consumer trends that already exist.
Yeah, and then Kerala cuisine, again, Data Central's 2026 cuisine to know when introducing US consumers to this cuisine that's a little bit lesser known, really lean into those approachable items like Kerala fried chicken, Indian filter coffee, Kerala style chai, and make sure that you're tying in how these items are already familiar to consumers in some aspect, like fried chicken, which everybody already knows and loves.
Amazing.
Thank,
Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
yeah.
So for folks who are sticking around still, the deck will be sent out tomorrow morning. And sorry, the recording of this webinar will be sent out tomorrow morning, and the deck will be available on Report Pro if you're a subscriber. Reach out to us at hello@datacentral.com if you are not, and we'll figure out a solution for you. One last reminder to register for the new series next year at datacentral.com/2026. I want to thank you, Jacqueline, and thank you, Jack, for once again rounding out the end of the webinar and joining me for this amazing session. I apologize for slightly going over time, but I hope it was informative, and I hope that we were able to give you a new idea to play with and experiment on going forward. We have a comment from the chat that, Jack, you look great, and you do.
No, yeah.
So
And you guys, I mean, honestly, Jacqueline, you two are marvelous communicators, and I know how much work goes into this too. But you really do a great job presenting this. So thank you, and thank you to everyone else for joining us today.
thank you so much. Yeah, on behalf of all of us at Data Central, this is the last webinar of the year, so thank you for spending your time with us and for helping us out close out season 7 of the Simply Smarter webinar, our 5th year in a row, and more to come.